good day, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For today's video, we're going to learn about involving the concept on the identification of the random variable, solving for the probability distribution, solving for the mean, variance, and standard deviation. So at the end of the video, I will attach my 5 examples. So let's go. So on to our first example. Find the mean, variance, and the standard deviation of the discrete random variable x with the following probability distribution. So right here, we have the formula for the mean, variance, and the standard deviation. So first, we have the formula for the mean, which is summation of x times the p of x. For the variance, we have summation x minus mean squared times the p of x. And for the standard deviation, simply get the square root of the variance to get the value of the standard deviation. So now we can proceed for the example number 1. So right here on the column x and the column p of x, these two are already given. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the x column, and for the p of x column, we have 0.15, 0.25, 0.30, 0.15, 0.10, and 0.05. So for us able to get the variance and standard deviation, of course, we need to get the mean first. So in solving the mean, we need to multiply the value of x to the p of x, which is right here already given. So just multiply this column and this column, the column of x and the column of p of x. So 1 times 0.15 is 0.15, 2 times 0.25 is 0.50, and so on and so forth. And for us to get the exact value of the mean, we need to do summation. So summation, we just need to add or plus this each value of this column, the x of p of x. So if we add this column or plus this column, we are going to get 2.95. So in this column, x minus mean, for us to get this, we need to subtract the value of the mean to the value of x column. So 1 minus 2.95 is negative 1.95. 2 minus 2.95 is 0.95, or negative 0.95. 3 minus 2.95 is 0.05, and so on and so forth. And next column, x minus mean squared, you just need to give the squared for each value in this column. So negative 1.95 squared is 3.8025. Negative 0.95 is equals to 0.9025. So just give the squared value for each value here in this column, so you will get this. So on to our last column, we are onto our variance variance formula. So x minus mean squared times the p of x. So there. So we just need to multiply this column to this column. So 0.15 times 3.8025 is 0.570375, and so on and so forth. For us to get the variance and standard deviation, we need to do the summation. So summation again, we need to add or plus this column of each value. So we need to add this 0.570375, 0.225625, and so on and so forth. And we will get the variance, which is 1.8475, or 1.85 to be exact. And for us to get the standard deviation, we just need simply to get the square root of our variance, which is already here. So square root of 1.8475, you will get the answer of 1.36. So there you go, a step-by-step process that you can fill out this whole column and to get the mean, variance, and the standard deviation. So example number 2, same process and same formula to be used. So for getting the mean again, we just need to multiply the value of x and the value of p of x. So right here, the value of x column and the value of p of x column is needed to multiply for you able to get the mean and do summation. So for example number 2, we have the answer for the mean of 22/10 or 2.2. After getting the mean, you can now proceed in x minus mean. So the thing you need to do is to subtract the value of x to the exact value of the mean. So 22 minus 0, 2.2 minus 0 is equals to negative 2.2, and so on and so forth. After that, after getting this column, the x minus mean, you can now square every value of this column to be squared. So negative 2.2 is equals, negative 2.2 squared is equals to 4.84, and so on and so forth. After getting the squared value of this column, you can now proceed by multiplying it to the p of x. So x minus mean squared times the p of x. So 4.84 times the 1/10 is equals to 0.484, so on and so forth. After getting the last column, you can now get the variance and the standard deviation by doing summation. So the answer for the variance in this example 2 is 1.56, and to get the standard deviation, you need to square root the answer for the variance. So for the variance, we have 1.56. To get the standard deviation, we need to get the square root of the variance. So square root of 1.56 is equals to 1.25. So there you go. So moving on to our example 3 and 4. So same procedure and same formula to be used to get the mean, variance, and the standard deviation. So first, by getting the mean again, we need first to multiply the value of x column and the value of p of x column. So 1 times 1/6 is equals to 1/6, and so on and so forth. So after that, solving these two columns, you can now get the mean and do summation. So for the mean, we have 7/2, and for the mean squared, we have 49/4 or 12.25, and summation of x squared times p of x is equals to 91/6. So as you can see here, x squared, so we need to square this column. So 1 squared is equals to 1, 2 squared is equals to 4, 3 squared is equals to 9, and so on and so forth. So next, x squared times p of x. So x squared, 1 times 1/6 is equals to 1/6. So you need to multiply the column of x squared in the column of p of x. So after solving the last column, you can now get the variance and the standard deviation. So for the variance, we have the 2.92, and by getting the standard deviation, we need to square root the value of variance. So the variance is 2.92. So square root of 2.92 is equals to 1.71. So that is for the standard deviation. So proceed to example 4, same. Getting the mean first by multiplying the column x and the column p of x. So 3 times 0.4 is 1.2, so on and so forth. And after solving for that, you can now get the mean. So for the mean, we have 4. Mean squared, we have 16. Summation of x squared times p of x is equals to 16.8. So x squared, so 3 squared is equals to 9, and so on and so forth. Then after solving for that, so you can now solve for that x squared times the p of x. So 0.4 times 9 is equals to 3.6, and so on and so forth. So you can now get the variance and the standard deviation. So we have, for the variance, we have 0.8, and by getting again the standard deviation is we need to square root the variance. Okay, so 0.8 square root of 0.8 is equals to 0.894. So that is for the standard deviation. So on to our last example, example 5. Same procedure, same formula in getting the mean, variance, and standard deviation. So getting the mean first, multiply the first column and the second column, which is the column value x and the column value p of x. So 12 times 0.27 is equals to 3.24, so on and so forth. After solving for the x and the p of x, you can now get the mean by doing summation. So for the mean, we have summation of x times p of x is equals to 13.66. So here, x squared, we need to square this column. So 12 squared is equals to 144, and so on and so forth. So after squaring the column x, you can now multiply the x squared to the value of p of x. So x squared times the p of x. So 144 times 0.27 is 38.88, and so on and so forth. After finishing solving the last column, you can now get the variance and the standard deviation. So for the variance, we have the 1.964. By getting the standard deviation, we need to square root the variance. So 1.964 square root of 1.964 is equals to 1.401. So that is for your standard deviation. So we have the mean, variance, and the standard deviation. So that's all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something from this video.